Okay, now we're official. All right. So tonight is actually going to be the first part of a two-part class where we discuss the next essay. All right. The final draft of your narrative essays should be in or getting in like very soon because I want us to just get ready to start the next wave of or the next essay. And our next essay is a little bit of a departure from what we just did. There's going to be some different components of it and some things added. It's going to be a little bit longer than the one we just did, but I think we're ready for it. Okay, we've been building up this entire semester, so we're ready to go. All right. So right now I'm in the week 6 module on D2L. And to be honest, I don't even know if this is week 6, but that's what we're calling it. All right. And there's just a few things. Some of this material, I mainly want to go over the writing prompt tonight and just give you all enough material to get you started on our first, the pre-writing aspect of this assignment. So if we don't get to the content tonight, that's fine. We can just hit it next week. All right. So your next paper is a causal analysis, which is, just kind of a fancy way of saying cause and effect, where you're going to be analyzing a cause and effect relationship. All right. What cause and effect relationship? I'll leave that up to your hands with certain guidelines that I'll give you. All right. So here's just some content, and here's an example paper. That's, paper's all right. No example we as faculty use is perfect though. Here are some slides. We'll probably get to these next week. And here's just a website that gives you a more in-depth explanation. We'll hit on some of those points next week as well. All right. And then I'll come back to this discussion question. And now I just want to look at the prompt. All right. And if you notice your first draft of this essay, all right, is not due until November 3rd. All right, which is, election day, right? That'll help it stand out to you in your minds. All right. But the rough draft isn't due for another 2 weeks. But between then, we're going to get our pre-writing in, which is an outline, but I'll go over that in a second. All right. So let me just crack this prompt open. Just going to bring mine up in Word. All right. It's like the millionth time I covered this week, between this week and last week. So if I go a little fast, just ask questions. All right. All right. Now, here's our prompt. All right. 1510 essay numero dos. All right. Cause and effect or causal analysis is the study of what happens and why it happens. It is rooted in our fundamental need to know why and what if. All right. And, it's the question why, it's really one of the questions that, drive humanity, right? Certainly drive certain branches of science, just wanting to know why, certain phenomena occur. All right. And our desire to make connections between the events of our lives drives us to understand reasons and results, right? And analyzing cause and effect relationship deepens our understanding of the world we live in. So, just with all of the assignments I try to give you all, I want them to be some real world application. So cause and effect does, help us understand, things from, political events all the way to, the nature of this reality, that we live in. So, causal analysis, we tend to do that, on a daily basis, even though we aren't, maybe calling it causal analysis. It's really just looking at why things happen, right? Why things happen, or looking at something that happened and looking at the effects of it. All right, but I'll explain that in more detail in a moment. An article analyzing the unexpected outcome of an election, a report linking poor nutrition to low academic performance, or an editorial analyzing the impact of a proposed law are all examples of cause and effect writing. But I guess, a day-to-day example, you get into something and you're asking yourself, man, how did I get here? Okay, meaning like why am I in this place? All right. So, we do causal analysis, like I said, really on a day-to-day basis. All right. Now here's your job for this assignment. Choose one of the broad subjects below and narrow it down to a manageable topic. So if we scroll down, I'll go over some of these in a second, but whatever you write about is totally up to you, as long as it fits within one of these categories, right? And like I said, I'll go back over those in a second here. All right. So part of the assignment is, well, really the first part of this assignment is, settling on something to write about. All right. And something that is going to be manageable within the space that we have, within the time and the space that we have. All right. So this essay is a little bit longer than what we just did, but not substantially longer. So, we want to have something that, can be managed within 4 to 6 pages. Okay. So for your assignment, choose one of the broad subjects below and narrow it down to a manageable topic. Once you're satisfied with your topic, and here's the catch. Right. Here's the catch. So once you're satisfied with your topic, and once you have received your instructor's approval, and really, I'm open to what you want to write about, and I just want to make sure it's something that can be tackled within 4 to 6 pages. All right, really, that's going to be my only stipulation. Well, that and something that you're going to be able to find credible research on. You aren't going to have to do like a ton of research for this paper, but you are going to have to incorporate some sources. So I want to make sure it's one, something manageable, and two, something that you're going to be able to find just a decent amount of research. All right. Like a few of my students in my AM section wanted to discuss certain things that were relatively new, meaning like there hasn't been that much research done on these topics yet. So try not to, I guess try not to choose something that you aren't going to be able to find much material to support. All right. What else? I'm trying to recall from this morning. It'll come back to me. All right. So once you are satisfied with your topic, and after you have received your instructor's approval, and if you want, tonight, like you can chat whatever you're thinking about to me, or over the course of the next few days, if you want to email me something and say, hey, Norwood, here's what I'm thinking about for my paper. And we can just dialogue in that way. That's fine. All right. But again, I think the question that you all should ask, when thinking about what to write for this essay, ask yourself, what are your interests, right? Because I tried to, when I was creating the general subjects for this essay, I tried to choose things that can encompass most of our interests. So I think for this essay, and really for any essay where you're choosing your own topic, I think the best place to start is, by asking yourself, what am I interested in? Whether that's politics, education, sports, fashion, pop culture, whatever. I think within all of these categories, there's something, some kind of cause and effect relationship to be analyzed. So that's the place I think we should start. What am I interested in? Or you're asking yourself that question. What are you interested in? What are the kind of things that you think about, on a day-to-day basis? Right? Don't share too much of that. All right. So here's your job. You got two options for this essay. All right. You can either, the short version of what I'm about to say, you can either analyze causes or you can analyze effects. All right, in your essay. And you can do both if you want. But if you just analyze cause or effect, you'll be fine for this essay. All right. But when we reconvene Monday or next Monday, when we start talking about the drafting process, I'll show you like methods for either one of these essays. All right. But option A identifies a phenomenon, maybe a social event, academic issue, event, trend, whatever, and discusses the resulting effects. So if you go in that direction, you're just going to say, here's this thing that's happening, or here's this thing that already happened, and here are the effects of this thing, right? And I know that was kind of vague, but I'll get more into detail in momentarily. All right, so you can do that option, or you can identify a phenomenon and discuss the causes. Like, here's this thing that happened, and here's why it happened. Here's what led up to this thing happening. All right, so simply put, you are to discuss why something happens or the effect of something that happened. And the something, I'm leaving that kind of general because that's your job to fill in that blank. All right, what's that something that you are going to discuss? All right, and then once you get that something in mind, are you going to discuss the causes of it, or are you going to discuss the effects of it? All right, so it's in your hands, but think hard about your topic. All right, now here's a couple. Here's one way we're departing from the last essay we did. It's not a personal essay. All right. So try to keep your definitely keep your experiences out of this essay. All right, and we're also not going to use the first person point of view for this essay. Okay, so I, me, we, us, our, and my. Okay, gone from this essay. Same thing with second person point of view. We're always, being mindful to omit that though. All right, and then don't fall into this trap. All right, the pros and cons, the pro con essay. Okay, the goal of this assignment is to analyze causes or effects of an occurrence. Okay, and for my folks, I think Tio and Jelena, who just joined us, we're discussing our second essay. Okay, here's a phone number. Should I let this phone number in? Oh no, man, I'm kind of suspicious. Oh, too late. If we get trolled, I blame all of you for saying nothing. Where's telephone number? Yeah, I need. Tio, where's the meme?
I'm on my Chromebook today.
Oh, nice. Very good.
It's surprisingly able to handle stuff today for once, so I'm using. I had
I feel
to.
you, man, because my go-to computer is just my tiny Microsoft Surface that I've been using for years, but man, it cannot handle doing a Zoom call and other stuff.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
computer
I
stressed out
got
and coughing. Had a hard day at the office.
it. Yeah,
All
I
right.
have this old Samsung laptop that it took. I upgraded it to more modern stuff
Yeah,
last year.
yeah,
Still
man.
can't handle it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Still can't handle it.
Sometimes you got to
And
know when to let it go,
Chromebook
man.
can't handle it either. I was
Yeah.
reading Oedipus earlier for my part in English class.
Oh, nice,
Yeah, I crashed in the middle of my part.
nice, nice, nice.
Well, at least
It's a
you
good
didn't have to
story,
do
man.
it.
Yeah, it's a good story too. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Telephone number. Can you chat me your name so I can get you righteous? This 1248 number. Okay. All right. So cause and effect essay topic of your choice is the material we've covered so far, my folks who just joined us. All right. Now, here's the guidelines for this thing. All right. The first thing, and like I was saying, the first part of your assignment is to choose something to write about. And when I say something that's sufficiently narrow, I mean just something that can be tackled within this short span of pages that you have. Like if you want to say, hey, Fresno, I want to write about, the collapse of the auto industry in Midwestern states. And that's a great topic, but that's actually more along the lines of a book length topic because you a lot goes into that. All right, so choose something that can. When I say narrow, that's what I mean. And I'll show you if I don't do anything tonight. I'll show you an example of what I mean. All right, so spend some time thinking about your topic, and then start getting your ideas together. But, don't just go with the low-hanging fruit. Like, hey, I want to discuss the cause of climate change. If that's in your wheelhouse, do it. But if that's not your interest and you're only writing about that because there's going to be a ton of research you can find, again, go back to square one. Go back to that original question. What are your interests? All right. But at the same time, if climate change is your thing, write about that. And climate change it does affect us all. So if you want to pursue that, do it. All right. But again, I keep stressing this, write about something that you like, something that you're interested in, something, if you're researching it, something you actually want to know more about. All right. That's the best research. Okay. When you're researching something you care about, or something, or an issue that you want to know more about. All right. Make sure you're following MLA formatting guidelines. 12 font times the Roman. This is stuff that we pretty much have a handle on, but don't do one of these numbers in your paper. All right. Let's just say, you're double spacing, and then you want to start a new paragraph, and then it's like, okay, now let me start my new paragraph here. All right, after I've skipped these additional spaces. If you're double spacing, you don't need to skip any additional lines in your paper, like anywhere. Just keep everything double spaced. MLA is kind of all about uniformity, right? Even though I'm not in MLA format here because I'm using Arial and I'm using a lot of bold stuff, but do what I say, not what I do.
Well, that's how you make page count.
Oh man, there's a lot better strategies for that. Okay, I won't tell you any, but
Can I?
There's some great ways to finesse, like word count, page total. Okay, maybe after the semester, I'll share some insider tips for you. All right. All right.
Well, to make page count, you can always send a $10 cash app.
$10. Come on, man. Step it up a little bit. Okay,
I'm
we'll talk.
balling on a
I've heard of, like,
budget.
Sorry.
You type a bunch of random letters and then white them out. I've heard of that one.
Man, now we talking. Okay, now we talking. Of course, as your humble instructor, I've never tried any of this stuff. All right. But yeah, man, that's why I kind of use the honor system. Right. 4 to 6 pages. I trust that you're gonna do an authentic 4 to 6 pages. Right. All right. But yeah, sometimes students have to cut corners. I get it. Just not in English
My
1510.
process is
Right.
my process is unorthodox. I say it so myself.
That's okay. Here's I used to be like the king of double dipping assignments. Like I would turn in a paper in this class and then maybe turned in that class.
If it works, why? If you're doing it on okay, so say you can choose a topic in here. So like in my American government class, I just had to do a bunch of research on education reform. So like I could.
Hey man. Okay. I would say, unless your teacher explicitly says not to do that, by all means. Oh, we're recording. Never mind. Don't do that ever.
Do your own work.
Don't do that
That's
ever.
Smart. I've never
It
thought
is,
about
but
that.
here's the issue you can run into. Like when you use turn it in, even if you've already submitted a paper to D2L, it's going to register with turn it in. But I'll say this: I personally don't have an issue with you. Like you were saying, Jelena, because even with that, what you just mentioned, some of that would apply to this assignment. So I would say, don't turn in a duplicate, of course, but if some ideas carry over.
Okay.
All right. When I get this meeting converted, I'm gonna edit that part out. Because when you turn in 2 papers for 2 different classes, you're gonna be like, well, Professor Norwood said it's okay. Right?
They're gonna know who to turn to.
So let those comments be stricken from the record. All right. But so I think there is something to that phrase, like work smarter, not harder. All right. Again, just not in English 1510. Okay, we work our fingers to the bone for every assignment. All right. All right. So here's something about MLA formatting as well, though. Okay. You don't need to bold anything in an essay. Like no bold print for anything, even the title, right? You don't have to bold that. Okay. I always tell students like you don't have to use bold print, but just use a bold title because your title is your first attention grabber. So yeah, just make sure everything's uniform in MLA. No italics. Only things that get italicized are like book titles, movie titles, album titles, magazine titles. But other than that, just keep it uniform. No fancy fonts, even though I'm on Arial. Arial speaks to like the neat freak in me because Arial just looks so clean to me, but it is slightly bigger than Times New Roman, so okay. So yeah, make sure you're following these guidelines. All right. And then that's what I was saying before. First and second person point of view. Right? Not cool for this assignment. So yeah, let's get ourselves out of that practice. And I know it was okay for our first assignment, which was a personal narrative, but traditionally in academic writing, first and second person point of view is avoided. The paradigm is kind of shifting when it comes to first person point of view, like more and more people are allowing it. But let's stay traditional for this one. All right. Something else that we're going to need that's different from our last essay. I know we had a little bit of leeway as far as our thesis statement is concerned. Maybe we led with it as our attention grabber. Maybe we just used our belief statement. Maybe it was an implied thesis statement. For this one, we're getting back to tradition. So thesis statement should be at the end of your introduction paragraph. Why? Because your introduction paragraph should build up to your thesis statement. So, if you're looking at, the essential elements of an introduction, it's attention grabber, it's context or background, and then it's your thesis statement. All right. And so that's why your intro should build up to your thesis statement. Okay. But I'll show you several examples of this. Also, I think when doing an essay that requires a thesis statement, as most essays do, my advice to students, try to come up with that first. All right. Even if it's just an idea, all right, and you want to word it differently when you start putting your draft together or when you start revising your draft, it's best to get your idea together first because now that's going to fuel your research and that's going to fuel the points that you're making throughout your essay. So if you're talking about, okay, let's use this as an example. All right. The United States, we'll just guesstimate and say we're at a 50% divorce rate in the US. All right. But it's really between like 46 and 53%, depending on, what your depending on what source you look at. All right. But we can just do the average and say about 50. All right. So we're putting an essay together and we want to look at the causes. Right? It's like, man, why do about half of marriages in the United States, end in divorce? Okay. I think this is kind of off topic, but I think my parents' generation was like the stick it out for the kids generation. All right, but yeah, not so much these days. All right, but
it's pretty bad now.
Yeah, but sticking it out for the kids is sometimes that's even worse in a lot of respects. All right. But so if we're looking at the causes of divorce, okay, now we can let that fuel our research because, off the top of our heads, I'm pretty sure we can name, a few reasons, but, try to go beneath the surface in this essay and we'll talk about underlying causes or effects. But when we're putting our brainstorm together, we're just thinking of all these reasons why, people get divorced in the United States. All right. So you can start off with the obvious ones, but then, keep making points. All right. In your brainstorm process. All right. So, if we have an idea in the beginning, right, this can also fuel what we come up with for our thesis statement. Okay. So you can say, you know, the effects of divorce in the United States are complex, or excuse me, the causes of divorce in the United States are, you know, are complex, because it is, right? We have to be mindful not to oversimplify. All right. So, you know, think about your idea, right? Or your topic, right? And then make a claim about your topic. All right. And then this is easier for me to show you in a minute here. All right. Got like a long list of things I have to show you guys in a minute. I keep saying that. Okay. Now, okay, make sure your body paragraphs are organized, you know, starting with the topic sentence. All right. You can also do this in your brainstorm as well. Okay, try to come up, even if you aren't coming up with topic sentences, try to come up with ideas, you know, to build your paragraphs around. Okay, really what I'm getting at is I want, and this is what we're going to do over the next week before we start writing our draft. I want us all to envision our paper. All right. First off, you know, what points are we, or excuse me, what's the topic, you know, we're gonna use for our paper. Then think about, okay, now what am I gonna say about this topic? And that's gonna lead into your thesis statement. Now that you have your thesis statement, okay, now what are the points I want to make in my essay, or what are the causes I want to discuss, or what are the effects I want to discuss? And I think with an essay of this nature, if we work that out beforehand, it's, you know, the writing process is never easy, but I think if we work all that out beforehand, it's going to make putting the essay together that much, or a little bit easier, because now we have all of our points that we want to make, or we have all the causes that we want to discuss, or the effects. So now it's just about fleshing it out, you know, when we put in our essay. And when we put our essay together, how do we flesh it out? We can bring in some research. We can discuss things that we already know, right? So really, you know, a lot of the work that we do in an essay, you know, a good amount of that can occur beforehand. All right. So organized body paragraphs that begin with topic sentences and contain relevant supporting detail. So now we can go back to our discussion that we had earlier in the semester about paragraph unity. All right. One idea per paragraph. All right. When you start discussing something new, start a new paragraph. Also, when you're putting a paragraph together, try to eliminate, you know, unrelated sentences, you know, sentences that may be interesting, but sentences that don't align with your topic sentence. All right. And that's really how you check the unity of a paragraph. Check it against the topic sentence, right? Is there a clear connection to my topic sentence, or did I go off on a tangent just a little bit? And that's very easy to do when we're writing. All right. Let's go off on a tangent. All right. So keep your paragraphs tight. And well, I'll cover that next week. I was gonna like the pie method, point, information, explanation. It's a great way for building paragraphs for an essay like this. All right, but I'll go into more detail about pie next week. Really, I want us to be focused on our pre-writing for this week. All right, now here's something that's drastically different from what we just did. Oh man, use a minimum of 3 sources cited using MLA citation guidelines. Oh no. Okay, now this is just a little bit added, you know, another ingredient to our paper. And really we're building up to, you know, our research, which is how we're going to end our research essay, which is how we're going to end the semester. And the truth is, I end with a paper like that because most of you are going to have to take English 1520 after this class, which is composition 2. Not all of you, but most of you are going to have to take this class. Just get with your counselor if you're unsure about whether you have to take it. But once you get in that class, it's all argument, right? And most, if not all, of what you're going to do in there requires some element of research, all right, to varying degrees. All right. So I really try to, help get you set up for success in that class. So we're going to start that process by incorporating a little bit of research into this essay. And I strongly encourage you to, and we can even have this discussion next week as well, but I really encourage you to use our library, the OCC library, the virtual library, of course. All right. And I say that because when you do research, sometimes the first instinct may be to just, Google. All right. And Google's a great, a great tool, but the downside of Google is, when you put something in that little search bar, you're just going to get like thousands of hits, hundreds of thousands of hits. All right. And then your job is going to have to be to sift through to see like what's a credible source and then what's an advertisement. What is something that has certain like inherent biases, right? Something that's, from an organizational website where it's kind of advancing this organization's mission. So the statistics or the data on this site may be a little bit skewed. All right. So, but when you get stuff from an academic library, that work has already been done for the most part. And, some, and when I say bias, I don't mean like, certain news outlets, they lean a certain way, like even our local news, right? If you look at the Detroit news, it's more right leaning, whereas the free press is more left leaning. That's not what I'm saying at all, because, we can get credible information from those sources. And I would say, as critical thinkers, I would, I look at the Detroit news and, the free press. And then, I kind of draw my own conclusions. All right. So, just because something doesn't align with your worldview, don't like wipe it off the table. Oh, that sounded bad. Don't ignore it. That's what I meant. Don't ignore it because it doesn't align with your worldview, because, we can get information from either sources if we're thinking critically. All right. So 3 credible sources. All right. And if you need some guidance in finding sources, I'll be happy to help. And then finally, works cited page. That does not count in your page total. Okay. All right. But always start a new page for works cited. Okay. Even if you only have like one line on page 5, start your works cited on page 6. All right. So here are the guidelines for this thing. All right. I tried to include everything. But yeah, just do your best work. Now, here's what could be the most challenging part of this assignment. Settling on what you're going to write about. Hopefully, well, here's the deal. Once you submit your pre-writing for this assignment, I want you to be locked in to whatever you're talking about, because at that point, once it's in, it's going to be a little late to change directions. So again, think about what you're going to do. Also, if you have questions about, like I just responded to a few emails this morning where students, they had like several topics they were thinking of. And it's like, hey, Norwood, here's what I'm thinking. And it was like, 1, 2, and 3. And, I advise them in that respect. So if you have a few things that you're thinking about and you just need help deciding, that's fine. Just shoot me a quick email. All right, we can dialogue like that. So now, your job for this one, choose one of the following broad subjects. All right, one of these categories, and then narrow it to a topic you could write about in 4 to 6 pages. For example, right, one of our topics is relationships. Okay. We can broaden this even a little bit because, all right. Or, any relationship you can think of. I got relationships and family, but, there's other things you can think of. All right. Choose one of the following broad subjects and narrow it to a topic you can write about 4 to 6 pages. For example, if you choose relationships, consider an essay discussing the causes of divorce in the U.S. or the effects of divorce. Okay. Because divorce, it affects all parties involved. All right, the person's getting a divorce, and then maybe there's children involved. Okay, there's an effect on them as well. All right, a topic that's too broad will lead to a spiraling essay that doesn't really make a clear point. So the part of your assignment for this coming week is narrow it down. Okay, write about something manageable. Here are categories, and now these examples are just that. All right, you don't have to write about any of these things. These are just some ideas to get you going. All right, technology, effects of smartphone on our attention span, effects of digital distribution on the music industry. This was interesting, right? I grew up, buying cassettes, right, CDs, but Spotify, Apple Music, all that great stuff. I pretty much listen to Spotify like only now. But I have like physical copies of a lot of music. That's pretty much just collecting dust. But I said all that to say, when I say technology, it could be, something that's we think of that's kind of on the surface, or it could be something that we make work. Another just an example that I think of, a student, it was last semester, or it was a couple semesters, I lost track, but student wrote a great paper about like microtransactions in gaming. All right, the effects of microtransactions in gaming. All right, and if you don't know what a microtransaction is, it's you buy a game, what, 60, 70 bucks. And then once you buy the game, like there's stuff within the game that you could buy. All right. And sometimes it's you don't have to buy this stuff to progress, but people progress faster at buying stuff. Me, I'm kind of old
Yeah.
school. I earn stuff in games. I'm just like an old school person. Kind of goes against my principles to buy stuff in the game. Maybe if there's some DLC, I'll get it, but for the most part, I'm that guy that grinds for, I don't know, for hours to get like something. But what I say is, or what I'm saying is, that was a good paper and it fell within the category of technology. So if you are a gamer and you like to write about gaming issues, right? Have at it for this paper. Health effects of, or causes or effects of childhood obesity, that's fine. All right, or whatever you can think of as it relates to health. All right, that's just one example. One of many examples you can use. Pop cultural trends, causes and effect of celebrity worship, or I don't know, man. I'm kind of out of the loop when it comes to this stuff. Influencers, is that a word? The influencers, like social media folks, who say, I'm doing this, it's cool, so you should do it too. All right. Why certain trends become popular, causes, this is an actual paper that a student wrote. Right. It was causes of, we'll just say body enhancement. All right, and you can kind of use your imagination of what this paper was about. It's about implants. Okay, there's certain body parts. But the thing is, and I really like the paper because, most people, when we think of implants, a bit of our maybe ingrained sexism comes out where we only think it's women getting enhancements, but males, we get enhancements too, man. Okay. Calf implants, and I remember that movie 300 came out, like everybody wanted the 300 abs. All right, implants. All right, education. Oh, back to pop culture trends. There's a lot that can fit in this category, right? So these are just some examples, but again, whatever you're into. All right, education, causes or effects of increased tuition, effects of an arts infused education. This was an actual paper as well. Really, the paper was about music specifically, but if you want to broaden it to talk about arts, that's fine. But again, if education's your bag, then talk about something within that category. Economics, social, political issue, of course, causes or effects of discrimination based on race, sexual identity, gender, ability, whatever, religion, whatever. All right. And then family, relationships, causes of infidelity. Ooh, yeah, there's a lot. Okay. Maybe you like legal stuff, causes or effects of recidivism. Recidivism is just the revolving door of, prison in the United States. Effects of legal marijuana, right? We're a medical and recreational state. So maybe that's something you want to discuss, like the effects of, legalization. That's
Wait, is the only child syndrome like not just a I'm a little taken aback by that one. Has somebody written about that?
This is actually a thing, right? And it's like in China, right? In China, for maybe about 20 some odd years, families were only allowed to have one child. So, being an only child, there's some I don't know, look into that. I'll say this. I'll say that. But that is,
Okay.
it's a real thing. Okay. Only child syndrome, right? Yeah. Okay. I'm not an only child. I have several siblings. Sports, entertainment. Okay. Effective head trauma in youth sports, effective reality TV. All right. But again, within these categories, there's a lot to be discussed. okay? Media, and then science / environment / whatever you want to put there. All right. Causes or effects of being anti-science is kind of a trend we see these days. And then effects of girls in STEM, or you can go causes. And STEM is what? Science, technology, engineering, math. And I think there's a great push, to get more women involved in STEM, which is a great thing, man. Okay. Which is a great thing. Get involved in the sciences. Okay. Now, while you must choose one of the above subjects, the subject is the bold stuff. You are not obligated to write about any of the suggested topics used as examples. Okay, so I just again gave you the examples for something to think about. But as long as what you write about fits into one of these broad categories, I'll allow it. All right, it's fine. All right, so again, go back to that original question. What are your interests? Okay. The topic you write about is in your hands. Just be sure to avoid overly broad topics or topics that rely on personal opinions. All right. So that's another thing. Try to avoid things that are going to rely on personal opinions and personal experience. Meaning like this is true because it happened to me. All right. Very difficult to sustain a claim in that way. All right. Now here's our timeline. All right. The outline. And I'll show you an example of an outline in a second here. The outline's due next week, 1 week from today. All right. And then between now and next week, if you want to just run your topic by me, that's fine. All right. Rough draft is due 2 weeks from today. Right. And then the final draft is due the 17th, which is the week before you go on break. All right. So I tried to set this up to where you all wouldn't have any substantial work to do over the the break in November.
I had a question. With the rough draft, will that be graded and returned? Like, will we be able to get?
Yep. And that's why I don't have anything for the week of the 10th, because that's when you all are getting them back.
Okay, thanks.
So yes, so I will return them to you the 10th, and then you'll have from like the 10th to the 17th to get your final draft uploaded. All right. And then you'll go on break. And then we come back. Final project for the rest of the semester. That's what we're going to be working on. All right.
I have a question.
Yes.
It's kind of off topic, but now that we're talking about November, do you know when classes open up for next semester? Like when we're allowed to start?
I think you already are, but I think they do like registration in tiers. There's some kind of like special registration.
Oh.
All right. And then, but I think everybody should be able to register. If not now, next week.
Okay.
But yeah, get registered, man. Get registered. Okay. Even though things are kind of things will be remote next semester, but I do know, like I said, you all, most of you will have to take 1520, and those classes are going to be 1510 and 1520 usually feel the fastest, and 1520 really because there's usually fewer sections of it. So if you are going to take 1520, make sure you register for that early. Also, my advice to you all as students, and again, this is kind of off topic, but Jelena, you brought it up. No. All right. If you are going to take English 1520, try to take it right after. Try like next semester while you're still kind of in that like the reading writing mindset. Because I get students, and they're at the very end, and it's like they waited till the last minute to take the class, and it's like, man, this is the only class I have left. And I don't know what it is, but sometimes it's just harder when it's at the end, or if you have not, if you took a year between like papers, sometimes that can be difficult. So if you do have to take it, get it out of the way. All right. But then if you really want to be a savvy student, okay, get all your gen ed stuff out of the way early. Get your maths out of the way, get your Englishes out of the way, and then you just have more freedom as far as the classes you want to take.
Do you teach a 1520 class next semester?
Ooh. Let me get back to you on that, because I haven't I made my schedule a million years ago. I think I do. All right.
Okay.
But I will let you know for sure.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. Oh yeah. My 1520 book is super cheap too, man. Just so you know, it's like 20, it's under $30. All right. So here's our schedule. Project timeline. All right, now, what time is it? Okay, let me go over this outline and then we'll call it a night. All right, now, this assignment is in the week 6 module. And like I said, I don't know if this is week 6, but that's what I'm calling it. I'll just call it writing and causal analysis. I don't even know what day it is half the time. All right. Yeah, okay. Okay, here
I
it is.
felt that.
Outline. Okay. Now, I'm just going to paraphrase this. All this says just put an outline together. All right. Here's the example. Bam. Okay. Now, does yours have to look exactly like this? No, but I do want, you can, when you do your own outline, you have several options. Okay. One, which would probably be look at Grammarly. Okay. This is again off topic, but Grammarly, you can get it to integrate into Word, which is, man, this thing is really helpful. All right. No issues found because I've already done the Grammarly for this, but it'll just show you like what's what in your paper. And it's Grammarly, I keep like touting it, but Grammarly is pretty much like spell check, but it's a lot more in depth. All right. And if you want to get it to integrate into Word, go to their website and it'll just give you the option to download. It's free also, but you do have to make an account. And I just use my school email address for everything, because I try to get like free or discounted stuff with my school email address. That's just,
Yep.
yeah, you already know. Spotify. Did not work for faculty though. I was kind of upset about that. Right? I don't know how they knew. All right. But one way to do this is you can just get rid of my stuff. All right. And you can just fill in your own stuff. All right. Another way to do it is you can create your own template, or on D2L, I might already have had it open from earlier today. No, I don't. All right. Or you can just go here. And this is just a blank one. All right. So, but just even if you do create your own, try to keep the categories the same. All right. And I'll show you what to do with these options in a little bit. Okay. After I go over the actual outline. All right. So now this one, this essay is going to discuss the effects of increasing college costs on students and graduates. Okay, so that's what I mean when I say break your topic down into something that's sufficiently narrow. This one, this we can handle this in 4 pages or 4 to 6 pages. So think about what you want to do. Think about what you want to say. All right. So bam, you got your topic. Now you need your thesis statement. Okay. Now for your outline, you're going to have what's called a working thesis. Okay. And a working thesis communicates your main idea, meaning like, okay, I know I want to discuss the effects of increased tuition. All right. But the way you word it, maybe you're still working on that. All right. And our thesis statement, it goes through revisions just like everything else in our essay. So your working thesis communicates your main idea, but the wording is subject to change during the writing process. So this thesis statement here says, the cost of higher education has increased dramatically over the last decade, which has resulted in potentially devastating economic and emotional effects. All right. Now, if I were to flesh this essay out, I would certainly do some revisions to that thesis statement. But for your outline, something like that is fine, because 1, it has the topic, and 2, it makes a claim about your topic, right? So here's the topic, cost of higher education, and here's the claim, or here's a statement about the effects or causes, depending on what essay you're writing, which has resulted in potentially devastating economic and emotional effects. All right. And again, like I said, I'll probably word that differently, after a couple of revisions. But for your outline, that's due next week, right? Get your main idea out. Okay. And like I said, it can always be revised. All right. So now, once you get this, okay, this is when the fun starts. This is when you start putting your paper together. And one thing I say to students, right, when you're doing an outline or some pre-writing, don't do it because it's, you're going to get a score or, it counts for the class. Do it because you're like visualizing your paper. All right. So don't just like, get some points together. Really like try to map out your paper when you do your outline, because if you put the work in here, your paper is just going to be a matter of like developing these points in paragraphs, right? So if you do this work early, it'll just cut down on the work that you have to do when you're putting your draft together, because it can be difficult to come up with points like as you're working, and then you got to develop the points, and then you may have to conduct some research. So try to make your outline as complete as you can. All right. So one effect, high cost of college leads to slower graduation and increased dropout. Now, this is a point I want to make in my paper, but I might cover it over the span of a couple paragraphs, right? Because here, these are two different ideas. All right. So my bullets, right? In my mind, I'm imagining these as body paragraphs, right? So one of my body paragraphs is going to be about how students often find it necessary to take a semester off to save up school funds. Okay. Also, next paragraph, or maybe I cover this in two paragraphs. That's fine. There's no law that says you have to, cover all this in one paragraph. In fact, I would say when you're doing your work and you want to give your reader a moment to like pause or reflect, start a new paragraph. That's fine. Especially if you're giving like an extensive example. All right. You don't have to cram all that in one paragraph. All right. But my next paragraph, would address increased dropout rate because of, high tuition or high college costs. All right. And then when I'm ready to move on to my next point, more debt after graduation. Right. And here's some of the effects of that. So, or here's some points I can make in distinct paragraphs. Debt can prevent graduates from working in their field of interest, as some will take survival jobs just to repay loans. All right. That was me, before I started teaching, I had every job under the sun. Why? Because I had what I wanted to do in mind, but while I was looking for that employment, I needed to have some income coming in. So construction worker, telephone installations, writing for people, and, things of that nature. These are things I had to do, to keep the wolves off my back, so to speak. All right. And the point I'm making is that can be frustrating. It's like, man, I went to school all this time, right? And here I am. All right. But on the flip side, I learned learned a lot just working those jobs. And then, I built my skill set. All right. Increased dropout rate, something else that can be developed. All right. And then, oh, never mind. I'm in a different category. Loan debt can prevent upward mobility, as it can be difficult to buy a home or anything involving credit if you're saddled with a lot of debt. All right. So that's something else, I would address in this paper. So now, hopefully as you're putting your outline together, you're envisioning your paper coming together as well. All right. Another effect, college can become cost prohibitive to low income students. All right. And, of course there's financial aid, but, not everyone's eligible for financial aid for a host of reasons, or, financial aid may not cover everything. All right. So financial aid is available, but may not cover the entire cost of college. Loss of hope, for potential students, I'll never be able to afford that. Some students have all the ability in the world. All right. But, maybe they're held back by, income. All right. Or, another effect can, it can increase the cycle of poverty. All right. And like all these are points I would flesh out with either some research or some kind of like sound reasoning to, sustain these points. All right. And then finally, what we have right here, and this is something I'll be sure to cover next week when we talk about the drafting process. What we have is called an underlying effect, and you can have underlying causes as well. So when you're thinking about your topic, whatever it is, they're like right off the top of your head, you're going to be able to think of, a few causes or effects. Okay. By all means, include those in your paper. All right. The quote unquote obvious ones, include them in your paper, but also, think of things that wouldn't come to mind. unless you really like put some thought about it. Think about, like, it's great if your reader has this reaction while they're reading your paper. Oh man, I never thought about that. Okay. Oh, I didn't see things that way. Right. So underlying causes are just, or effects are causes or effects that lie beneath the surface. So when we talk about, the cost of college, most of us, or most people, would kind of view that through an economic lens. All right. But there's also an emotional or a mental aspect of that, because if you have this overwhelming debt, as most people, or as many people do once they graduate from college, once you have to start paying these debts back, that can be really stressful. Or paying back any debt. A lot of times, if you're in some overwhelming debt, it could be the first thing you think of in the morning and the last thing you think of, when you go to bed. And that can lead to certain stressors. And stressors can affect our mental and our physical health as well. All right. So debt has been proven. All right. Has been proven when you see a statement like that, or when you write a statement like that, your reader is going to be expecting you to follow that up with, okay, where has this been proven? All right. Show me the receipts, or show me your research. All right. So when you say something like it has been proven, all right, you better be prepared to bring that study in, or bring in that research. All right. So debt has been proven to adversely impact mental health. Okay. Depression, right, can sometimes be a product of, overwhelming debt. All right. Intense stress can lead to depression. So now, when you're visualizing your paper, right, and you're visualizing the points you want to make, think about the order that you're going to present those points in, right? For me, I think a good strategy is to sort of build up to what you think is your most interesting point. Or you can lead with your most interesting point. That's up to you. But again, it kind of goes back to like visualizing your paper. All right. How do you want it to look? Like, what points do you want to make? And then what order do you want to make these points in? All right. So, and then finally, this conclusion, what do you want your reader to take from your paper? Right? What do you want? Because, if we go back to the writing process, one of the things that we have to decide is our purpose, right? So, it's the why. Why are we doing this? So what do you want your reader to take from your paper? All right. What's the purpose of your causal analysis? Why draw out this cause and effect relationship, for your audience? All right. And this one, lowering or freezing the cost of college is in the best interest of students. Okay. Lowering or freezing the cost of college. Okay. Let's put a cap on it. All right. And then if we read this blue type right here, try coming up with as many causes or effects as possible for your outline. Okay. Like right here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. But within these 4, there's ideas to build paragraphs. This should be enough, to build a decent 4-page paper. So 4, right? But if you want more, it's just a matter of doing this. Right. And then you can just go more. But of course, spell effect, right? All right. So you can just go for as many as you want. That's fine. Not as many as you want. Okay. Because papers like this, if you have too many causes or too many effects, you run the risk of like having underdeveloped ideas. But if you get a few and then you really develop those ideas in detail, you're solid for this assignment. All right. So this is due Monday of next week, and there's already an assignment folder for it. And now, like I said, you can either take this one and just delete, everything except the bold stuff, right? Keep the categories here. All right. Or you can create your own, if you want to keep it nice and neat, or neater, I guess. Or like I was saying, you can use the causal analysis template. If you're using the template, you just want to do this, depending on what you're writing about. You want to get rid of one of these. Right? So if your essay is discussing causes, then that's how it will look. You would just get rid of the effect. And vice versa, if you're discussing effect, you would get rid of the cause. All right, but everything else is the same. All right, and then make sure you get your MLA heading proper. Get those page numbers up too.
That's due next week.
Yes, just the outline, not the draft.
Okay, all right, for sure.
Yep, just the outline. But again, folks, spend some time thinking about what you want to do before you commit. We have time, but our time is kind of limited here. So yeah, really think about what you want to do before you commit to it. And again, just for the millionth time, go back to that idea. You know, what are you interested in? What do you like? Right? What are your thoughts on stuff? All right, to use an academic term. All right, and then there's one more assignment that's due next week as well. Our discussion question. And this question, right? It's really just kind of, I see you, Bear. This question is hold on for a second. I have to mute myself. Sorry about that. I had to give my daughter some precise instructions. All right. So here it is, folks, just to get us in the causal analysis mindset. All right. For better or worse, social media has become part of the fabric of most of our lives. Even if we do not actively participate in the world of social media, it is very difficult to remain unaffected by its pervasiveness, meaning it's everywhere. So even if we don't use social media, we're affected in some way. All right. Whether it is igniting, important social movements or starting dangerous trends, one cannot argue against the influence that social media has. Right. I personally have found like family members on social media, family that I didn't know I had. All right. The weirdest family reunion ever. All right. In your post, discuss some of the effects of social media. I know that's vague. All right. And I made it vague for a reason, just because I want you all to see just the things that we come up with. All right. And don't think like it has to be positive or has to be negative. Because social media to me is like, it's like fire. It can warm you up or it can burn your house down. But fire is neutral. All right. Same thing with social media. It's not the social media itself. It's just, it's the application. All right. So, start by thinking personally, what have you experienced? And, it can build or destroy our self-esteem, depending on who we are. So that's our discussion question. And then make sure you apply it to your classmates. Okay. And all that, everything we everything we covered today is in this writing and causal analysis module. All right, kind souls. Questions? Anybody have a topic in mind they want to chat to me real quick?
No, I'm gonna have to do some major thinking.
Some self-reflection.
Yeah, it's been a long day. I just gotta clear my head.
Absolutely. Yes, that's good, Sade. Now, okay, it's a good category. But really break that down a little bit. What about, what about your topic?
Okay.
Yeah, but that's a good place to start. All right.
I don't know if this is too narrow, but if I were to do something about the causes of how you, not reprimand, but how you like direct your children, would that be too, I don't know. I think I could
I
broaden it
think
up a little bit.
that would be more of an effect essay. because now I'm thinking like just different ways of reprimanding children, like authoritarian or whatever.
Okay.
Think about that. That's a good idea, Jelena, but think about it. Because there's a lot to be said within that. Okay. That's good.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then there's different parenting styles. Some people parent with an iron fist, and some people I guess some people use reason and the carrot and the
Could
stick or whatever. Say what?
could veteran suicide be a good topic to do cause and effect on?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's cool too, Jacqueline. Now for you though, Jacqueline, I would narrow that down to like what kind of school, like high school, college, middle school, but make that a little bit more specific. But no, that's good. All right. And then Brendan, that's great too.
Is there
Yeah.
a part in the textbook that goes over how to set up a good cause and effect essay? Or
Yep. We're going to cover that next week.
okay.
But if you just want the quick and dirty of it, click this thing here, cause and effect essay. But now the book will come into play next week.
Speaking of the book, I was wondering, as far as Mind Tap, do we have to, like, if we have the physical book, do we really have to do anything on there? Or?
Yeah, I'm thinking of what to do with Mind Tap, because the book has been kind of an interesting situation for this section. Let me get back to you on that, Brandon. But for right now, don't we're good. Are there questions? Oh yes, absolutely. Mahad, am I saying your name right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
All right, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I happen to play violent games, man, so I'll be interested to hear what you have to say. Man, people talk about games now, but Super Mario Brothers is pretty violent.
Yeah, I think just standards just got way higher or softer.
That's good too, Brandon. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I think, Brandon, your case, your topic would be interesting as well, because there's like the whole machismo thing where we don't want to get help sometimes when we're going through something.
Right.
No, that's good. That's good. Okay. Anybody else thinking anything? Okay, you don't have to come up with anything now, but if you're thinking about something over the course of the week, just like let me know by email, and I will give you some guidance on that. Okay. We
All right.
stop with the recording.